Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Travis from the No Skip Show.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Thank you so much for having me.
Black out my whole perception, taking over all I see. Crash course with no direction. I can feel it guide me. Overload the system, burning down. Is anybody listening? Overload, I'm burning out, and I know I can't take it. How long can we hold on to who we are? Searching for a connection to make us whole. Dreaming for the meaning in who we are. Disconnected from everything beyond the surface.
I just want to start out with like some easy questions, like what was one of your favorite albums growing up?
Sure, absolutely. So, some of my favorite albums, like growing up, was I think what really got me into music was a lot of the mid 2000s, like alternative rock, what they call divorced dad rock now, like Breaking Benjamin's Phobia, 3 Days Grace's 1X, stuff like that growing up was just mind blowing for me. Up until I got into a lot of like the MySpace Christcore bands like Under Oath, The Devil Wears Prada, stuff like that. Going to the Christian bookstore to buy every rock and metal album they had growing up, and that just altered my taste entirely into metal and heavier music.
Okay. Now, are you you were talking about going to the Christian metal and stuff. Did you grow up in a family like that?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like I had the full ability to listen to whatever I wanted at home, but grew up going to church, and it was like, okay, you can listen to rock music. We're just going to guide you in the direction to get into things like like Christian rock and Christian metal music, and that was really where I found my footing whenever I was first getting into music. A lot of bands like Disciple, We As Human, Thousand Foot Crutch, stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Um, what was the first concert you ever attended?
Sure. The first concert I ever went to was Uprise Festival 2015. I saw Skillet, saw Thousand Foot Crutch. It was We As Humans' last ever show. I saw Disciple. I saw Red. Yeah, that was my first concert. It was in the middle of a cornfield, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and to see all those bands as your first concert, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Let's see. So, how did this all start? The No Skip Show. How did that begin?
Sure. So prior to the No Skip Show, I went to film school for film production with a concentration in business. So it was always something that I wanted to do was combine the worlds of filmmaking with music. I had gone to so many different concerts growing up. Through high school, I was known for missing school because I was out late going to concerts. So it was always like teachers, mentors, things like that. Like you got to find that way to mix both of them. So I was doing full live event videography for a lot of the like Christian rock and Christian musicians through high school and things like that. And over the COVID-19 pandemic, I wanted to do more like talking head based content. So I was doing a lot of album reviews, topic videos, things like that. And it was me and my roommate. We were sitting there and we're like, we want to find a way to bring that to the local scene, however that might be. And by the end of 2023, after years of planning, we were able to fully launch and do alternative music history videos through the No Skip Show. And since then, Things have been really cool. We launched a full scale multimedia publication at the beginning of 2025, and we're just kind of going with the flow of things and seeing how things grow from there. But yeah, it started very small, just, oh, this is an idea. We got to commit with it. It has to not stay in the group chat.
Okay. Uh, I wanted to jump back to when you were in high school and you said you started doing this. How did that first come about? Did like some bands reach out to you, or how did that go?
Sure, it's more vice versa than anything. Um, I knew some promoters that were out in West Central Pennsylvania, and I took a shot and I was like, you know what? Hey, I'll do some live event videography. I really like stuff like Hate 56, things like that. And I was like, I want to bring that to that kind of sound, that kind of scene. And took a lot of rejections, but at the end of the day, then I got my first booking to do for first one was with TJ Harris, the vocalist of the band Decipher Down. And it kind of just snowballed from there for a while.
And was that like exciting to get like your first one? You're like, ah, yeah, I got it.
Yeah, it was crazy, like, such a good opportunity, especially for a band that I grew up listening to, and I remember just the stress of just anticipating it. It's like, you get into that, like, mindset of, "Okay, it's time to, like, lock in, it's trying to, really put your best foot forward and prove yourself there," and that was a great opportunity to, prove that.
Okay. And so from there, you said you went on to film school?
Yeah, I went to Point Park University for cinema production.
And what were the classes like there? Was it like, oh, I I'm glad I'm learning this because I was doing it like kind of like the wrong way before. Is that something like happened?
Oh yeah, like I think that one of the biggest things I learned from film school is a lot of organization and like how to manage a project. And I think that that was something I had no idea of in high school. Like I went to a VOTEC school for sophomore through senior year of high school, and we were doing a lot of like really small scale video shoots, a lot of like infomercials, a lot of promotional videos, and working with a client was one of the things that I learned very fast in film school, as well as almost trying to get into a routine whenever you're shooting. So for us, some of the classes were like we were on set one like all days on the weekends, every weekend for an entire semester. So with that, like we were able to make, say 15, 16 short films in the span of a semester. And that really built that comfortability so that the jitters, the stress, the things like that kind of alleviate because even now whenever you're shooting like at a show, something like that, you have to be in the mindset, you have to almost be able to sell yourself, and I think that's one thing that film school really taught me.
Okay. So after film school, did you have like a plan of what you were gonna do, or did you like have to get like a job or something like that? What what happened after you finished film school?
Sure. So after I graduated, I was doing a lot of well, during college I was doing a lot of event security for concert venues. I still do that on the side as well, and that was helping getting my foot in the door in that avenue when it comes to venue operations, show operations, things like that, and also venue management. So that was great. I was doing that while also doing sales for a gutter protection company, which, it was certainly a job. I did some audio video work, like gigs on the side. I did like DJ assisting on the side, and it was just juggling a lot of different like side jobs. And I knew like long term that what I wanted to do was like content creation, web creation. That's something I'd always envisioned myself doing ever since almost 10 years ago. So it was like, okay, I see where I want to be. I just have to figure out how to get there. Then that was kind of the period between spring of 2022 to when we did launch the No Skip show at the end of 2023. It was just what can get us to this point to where I feel ready to launch this and ready to make it happen.
So you were learning all this stuff along the way and also kind of like networking and getting to know the people that you were going to in the future be involved with.
Exactly.
So that wasn't all just a waste of time. That was like you're building something, but it's going to take a while to get to where you need to go. That's what I've been kind of like doing. So I completely understand where you're coming from on that one.
Yeah, I think that like one of the things that I've learned just over the years is that everything um is there's not many things that are just worthless. You learn things along the way, whatever it might be, whatever, at that time, dead end job that I had, as much as I was sitting there like, oh, why am I doing this? I feel like I'm wasting my time. I'm just collecting a paycheck. It helps something in the back end. Doing sales was like, okay, now I know how to approach people. I know how to talk to people. I know how to do that when, before maybe those skills weren't learned as much as it was like going to these home shows and sitting there and just pitching to people that do not want to talk to you. And those are skills that, you learn. Like I did like live streams and I ran them for a church for about 6 months. And that taught me a lot of just like, I had no experience with live streaming before that. All I did was, scripted content that was filmed, edited, and that really taught me how to run a live stream, and especially one that was pulling like viewership like that every week.
Awesome. Okay. So now we're up to where you're going to go forward and do the no skip show. How did that all come together? Was just you at the beginning, but did you start collecting people for your team?
Yeah, so in 2024, we had a team of 3 people. It was myself, our co-founder, and one other member who was our designer. And at that point, we were doing alternative music history. We were talking about bands going through their discography and doing more fact-based content. But we always wanted to be able to bring the educational part of it, the edutainment as they call it, to the local scene to promote local music, because that's always been something I've been super into. I've been super big supporter of local music, playing in bands myself over the years. And at that point, it was like, how do we do this? And we needed to grow a team at that point. So it was really going through the process of reaching out to people that I knew and trusted that would join the team. That's where we got the team that we have now. Some of them I did go to film school with. Others are people I've met along the way that had a vision that I really agree with. And one big part of the No Skip Show as a whole is like content coaching and really helping people's visions come to life. Because to me, one of the biggest things is supporting other people's visions. And some people don't have, like, they know what they want, they know what the goal is for the content that they want to create, but maybe the logistics are the problem. And I'm always there to help and provide insight however I can with everyone. So I took people that I knew and trusted that wanted to do something like this, and we put it together. And now we have a team of about 10 to 12 people, and it's been fantastic.
And can you tell me about your little team? I met a couple of them the other night at the craft house. Could you tell me who they are and their roles, their different roles?
Absolutely. So, I serve as the creative director. I oversee the visual aspects of the No Skip Show. I do a lot of the back end stuff when it comes to our bookings, our interviews, things like that. Dylan Tormey is our co founder. He's my roommate. He is our lead writer. He's our founder, and he does a lot of administrative work as well. We have Sean O'Donnell, who serves as our interviewer, on screen personality, along with myself. He has also helped a lot when it comes to post-hardcore music. Swancore, he likes to go by the term the post-hardcore Nardwar, as one of the bands said in one of our interviews. So that is definitely his forte. And we have a lot of different people that have different backgrounds and different kinds of music. We have Drew Simcoe is one of our lead photographers. He just released photos today of Little Image when they played at the Roxy last night. We also have a couple other photographers, including Nicole Griffin, who just did a shoot for Cat's Eye, the pop group in Washington, D.C. We have Jake Yanosik as well, one of our lead photographers, and does a lot of our video editing as well, which is incredible, especially when we've been shooting so much through September and October and November this year. So we definitely have like people in the back end that are working on putting out these interviews, putting out the web content that we have. And then also we have contributing writers as well. We also open up for collaborators, for people who want cross promotion as well. That's something that we offer as well.
How did you come up with the name for the show?
Oh, that's a great question. So, more or less, I had over 2020, 2021, I was doing album reviews and I was doing topic videos under Travis Platt Reviews. That was the brand. In that sense, I was, say, the brand. But whenever we were going to move forward, I wanted a brand that isn't revolving around one person itself. That way, we can feature multiple people, we can feature multiple creators. And more or less, I was just brainstorming one of the days. I think me and Dylan were like driving around doing like DoorDash deliveries, and we were like brainstorming and just throwing names out there. And the No Skip Show was just one of the names that came out, and we're like, you know what, that clicked.
Awesome. Awesome. Let me see. I want to talk about what was like some of the like your favorite interviews from like national bands that you interviewed. Who were they?
Oh, that's a great question. So, um, I would say some of my favorite bands that we've done interviews with. Certainly, I'll start with ones that are released already. I think one of the most pivotal things for us was doing media for the Four Core Music Festival this year. That was such an incredible opportunity. Um, I will thank Rishi and Drusky Entertainment constantly for that opportunity, where we got to interview some of the bands that played the first halves of the day through both days as well as the pre-show. Um, I think Koyo was an incredible interview. It's just so cool to just dive into their songwriting and their approach. That was incredible. Like one of the best pop punk bands doing it right now. Um, in terms of in general, we got to go to Columbus, Ohio, where we were invited by the band Mela to do coverage of the tour. It was a lot like Birds, Dwellings, Zeta, and Mela. And all of those interviews turned out fantastic to just talk to those bands, to dive into the new releases that they had. Mela had just released their debut album just a couple months ago. And it was their first ever like video interview, and that is always one of the things that I really enjoy doing is hearing that we've never done a video interview before, like this is the first one, and that was a really cool opportunity. Some other ones that I can shout out are the band Dear Marianne. Getting to interview them before they sold out the Mr. Roboto project, that was incredible. Another big one was Andres, when he gave the scoop that he had signed to a record label, which was incredible. And being able to exclusively break that was really a great opportunity. We have one in the vault. We did a deep dive and history lesson with Kurt Travis of Dance Gavin Dance, Royal Coda, a lot like Birds, and it's an hour-long deep dive of the first half of his career. And I have been just so looking forward to releasing it. So that's coming soon. And alongside Dance Gavin Dance, the interview we did with Andrew Wells is still mind-blowing, especially when he was dropping a lot of information about the album Pantheon right as it got announced. And especially being in a position where, you are coming in as the fourth lead clean singer in the band, it was very divisive at that time to be able to, talk about that openly and talk about, the experience of the first headlining tour that they did with Andrew at the helm was super great and such an awesome opportunity for us.
Okay. And what were some of the local bands that you've liked when you interviewed them? Like, was there any like ones you were trying for and you finally got?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of local bands, I think that one of the coolest series of interviews that we did was at the When Yins Were Young festival that was ran by Good Vibe Entertainment, of course, and getting to coordinate with Crash Nebula to do an interview with them. We've been wanting to do that for probably the better part of 6 months. So to get that, and it was just such a fun time. We love when bands really have fun with it and make it their own. And they were one of the bands that definitely did so. Same with Old Neon. Whenever we interviewed them at their show at the New Low a Sunday morning, they just had a ball with it. And we'd been like talking with Mike from Old Neon for a little while about making sure that an interview could happen. And we got it, and it was just so much fun. Just it was a wacky one, but in the best way possible.
Okay. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about interviews. Like, sometimes you don't know how they're going to go when you start out. You don't know if they're shy, and you have to find a way to open them up. Or what's going to happen during the interview, and you're not prepared. Have you had some of those experiences?
Yeah. So I think, like you said, whenever you're doing interviews, you have no clue what you're expecting. Like a lot of the times, you're meeting the band members for the very first time, right there. Sometimes you're working with the tour manager, and sometimes they have to be in the room, and we've had that happen before, where they want to make sure that the artist is represented well, that nothing goes like out of line, and those are always interesting ones. And we're always willing to work with the tour however it might be. But yeah, I think that when it comes with the interview style, all of our interview personalities are very different, which is super cool. Where comparatively, I want to talk the facts. I want to dive in deep. I want to know, the mindset. I want to pick the brain. And Sean is very much like, okay, like he is a bubbly personality. He wants to have fun with it. He wants to roll with the artist and, laugh about it. But I think that that's always trying to figure that out through the early conversations with the bands. And I think that a funny story when it comes to um, craziness happening is we were doing a show at the Mr. Roboto Project, and it was a show where I was the only person on staff there, and it was a 7 band hardcore bill, and we had been like, okay, we're gonna interview all the bands. I'm running sound, doing the interviews in between sets, craziness just bouncing all over the place. And it was during one of the interviews, and it was going way longer than we thought, which was great. And I had talked to one of the singer of the band, and he was like, "Oh yeah, like I do like some video production." And I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna hand you the mic, the camera, while I get the band ready, and then run back out." And it works well. But then while I was gone, I guess they like reeled in a bunch of other people that were in bands too to just carry on. And I was like, I thought it was just hilarious because it'd be like, oh, here's the singer of this band. This guy is just starting a band as they just like dive in. And I was like, amazing. It was so funny to just watch it unravel in the way it did. And I showed back up, got the camera back just in time for the ending.
Awesome. Um, Another thing is like shyness. Like, what kind of techniques do you do to kind of like make them feel at ease?
Sure. I think the introduction, whenever you're talking to them before the camera's rolling, that is really the best chance that you have to get a read off of them and them to get a read off of you. For me, I'm the type to like be like, "Oh, okay, like I've seen you here." If they dropped a new album that I've listened to, talking about that, and we always send the questions in advance. That way they can prepare. Nothing's getting nothing too crazy curveball wise is getting sent over. Now we of course ask follow up questions there, but they have the baseline. That way, if there's someone that doesn't improv very well, like myself, then we have a starting point here. And yeah, that initial like talking to, that initial like conversation before rolling, and that can take as long as it needs to before you really feel that that is comfortable. So it's really just being able to read the room. It's really able to try and find that mutual connection with that. Because one of the things that I've realized is that um, people in the music industry, however it is, whether you're a band, whether you're a promoter, whether you're a solo artist, whether you're a creator, there's that mutual love for music and that connection that we all have with it. And when you're able to find that, we're not as different as we think, then that's how I think you're able to connect to people even more.
Okay. Let's see. How long has No Skip Show been together? How many years?
Sure. So we launched initially at the end of 2023. I think it was in September, and then the full publication launched in January of 2025.
And is that just YouTube and Instagram, or do you have like an online website?
Yeah, we have a website. It is the noskipshow.com. That's where we feature a lot of our video content, as well as the photography galleries from our photographers and news content and article write ups as well.
Okay. So you got like different categories that you're working with, and you have different people that do those things. So tell me basically the layout of what you guys do.
Sure. So, do you mean in the sense of just an overview?
Yeah, like you said you wrote like album reviews, you go out and you do these videos for these bands at the different venues. Have you ever been on tour with a band before?
No, I've not been on tour yet doing content creation, but that's something that is open. If you're listening to this and you're a touring band, hit me up at T Plat Productions. I've been looking to go on tour. I'm open for tour. A lot of our crew is as well. So a lot of us are hungry to go on tour, whatever capacity that might be. But yeah, in terms of what we're doing right now in Pittsburgh, one of the biggest things that I think of is we're providing service to the bands and promoters to promote the music and the shows that are coming out. So, however that is, whether that's being at the show and doing interview footage, whether that's shooting footage of the bands, whether that's recaps, whether that's photos, whether that's a show review, we want to promote whatever music is happening in the community. And it's finding different avenues of what that looks like and what we think that would be the most enticing for the viewer to be like, okay, maybe I want to go to this show. Maybe I want to see what this is all about. They see a video from a local showcase show. And they're like, okay, I've been in Pittsburgh for however long and I haven't seen this. Maybe I should start going to a show. And that's always the goal, is to get people to come together, because in my opinion, live music is one of the only like major group communities that you see that are revolving around the arts in this capacity.
Okay. Um what has been some of the positives and negatives you have seen in the music industry since you've been involved?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I think in terms of in Pittsburgh in itself, so one of the biggest positives that I've seen is that I really think that there is a big influx of local bands and younger people experiencing DIY music. In that way, I think a lot about like the emo scene, where when I was going to a lot of emo shows at Mr. Roboto Project, Kativa, the Smiling Moose, whenever I was in high school, it was there. It didn't feel like there was a lot of people at that point my age when I was like 17, 18. We're now being in the position I am, doing the social media for Mr. Roboto and working the shows there. I get to see just how much of an outreach that they have for uh, like that age demographic. And that is what is going to create the future of the scene, and things feel bright in that. And those people are starting bands and they're playing shows, and to be there and how have venues that are open to, okay, this wants to be their very first show. And that's totally cool. That is awesome. When I was in bands, I was like, we got to play Pittsburgh. We got to make it happen. And we were playing like house shows. We were playing just wherever we could in Indiana County. So then now to see out here how people will take care of and teach the people that want to play their first shows and want to go to their first shows, like concert etiquette and things like that, is really, really cool to see. And there's just so many bands that are coming out in Pittsburgh that is just awesome. And I guess a negative would be, even though I think it is starting to get better, I really think that there is still this divide when it comes to scene and genre, where you might get the people that are in the punk scene that do not want to associate with anyone that is in the metal scene, or vice versa. There was, where the river lies, there's a divide, is something I was always told. And venues that aren't in Pittsburgh proper would tend to struggle when it came to attendance and things like that. And I really want to see more, I guess, collaboration between venues and promoters, because I think at the end of the day, we're all trying to have the same goals, to make it that people are in the door for the shows and people are there to have fun and escape whatever bullshit's going on in the back. So now it's like, I don't think there's any room for things like clicks or exclusivity, things like that, when it comes to a local scene. And that's one of the things that I think with time it'll get better. I think with I love mixed bill lineups. I like mixed genre lineups. I think that is so cool, because I think it opens the avenue to open your mind and perspective to music. I think of what 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 would I be listening to if I didn't go to Warp Tour growing up, and that was how I got to see some deathcore bands live for the very first time, and now that's like one of my favorite genres to see live. A lot of like hardcore bands were playing Warp Tour, and I guess that on a smaller scale would be increasingly really cool.
You were talking about like reaching a certain audience. How do you go about doing that? Like for to promote your show, how do you reach that audience?
Yeah, sure. So for us, it comes down to at least in Pittsburgh, we do a lot of word of mouth, like in person promotion. We have stacks of business cards that we hand out. We really do the hustle in that regard, where, you know, photographer, like when I'm shooting a show and I'm shooting like crowd surfing footage, they'll come by. I'll be like, hey, I got a photo of you crowd surfing. Here's a business card. Take it. And whenever it's done, it'll be posted. Or even like whenever you're talking to the bands and you're at a show, we're always like trying to circulate around. We're always trying to like promote constantly. You wear that on your sleeve as much as you can, because then at that point the local scene is learning about you, and they're seeing what you're doing in real time. Because I think that there is a divide between online presence and, what is tangible in, I guess, real life in person. And always, I see other creators that only want to focus on online because then, that causes their numbers to go up. That causes, the algorithm to really like push their content more. But for us, I guess, on top of looking at that, we're posting videos for like bigger bands and things like that. There's still always going to be that bit for the local scene, and trying to balance that comes to just in person connection.
What's your plans for 2026?
That is a great question. I think in terms of 2026, one of our biggest plans is this year we had really prioritized a lot of interview content. That was a very big thing for us that we started in January when we interviewed lobby boxer Atlas Decay. And as great as that was and that still is, we're always going to be doing interview content. But for us, I think starting to bring in a pivot for more studio-based content as well, I think would be very cool. We're actively building a video recording studio as we speak. So that has been quite a process for us for the past like 3 months. So our hope is by January that'll be ready and we'll be able to do more like studio based content, things like podcasting, things like bringing back that alternative music history videos, the beginner's guide videos, while also doing interviews and also being able to provide studio based like discussions about shows, about albums, about things like that, and continuing to build towards being this one stop shop for just music education. So 2026, I think in that sense, like that's going to be one of my major goals is getting that up and running while also doing having the interview content continue to come out at a steady pace. And who knows, like going on tour would be super cool. More media coverage when it comes to festivals, things like that would be awesome. Doing four chord again in 2026, hopefully, as well as other festivals going on. I know I already have my ticket for Warp Tour in DC. I'm going to shoot my shot to try and do media for that as well. So I think it's just continuing to take opportunity and like try to make something out of that while also continuing to build our team and the strengths that we have and highlight more bands and be able to cover multiple shows in one night with a team that can split up and divide and conquer.
Awesome. Okay. Where can we get a hold of you?
Sure. So, for the No Skip Show in general, on all social media, it is at the No Skip Show. That's on Instagram, that's on Facebook, that's on YouTube. That is our website is thenoskipshow.com. So you can check it out there. Our link tree is also at the No Skip Show. That is on all platforms. You can always check us out there. Anywhere, I'm always the one that's responding to the DMs, the messages, things like that. So any kind of like insight, thoughts, feelings, anything like that, reach out on any of the socials at the No Skip Show. Me, myself, as a creator, I'm also T Plat Productions on Instagram, on Facebook, on all socials as well. And that's for more video production, that's commission work. If you're a band looking for live event coverage, if you're looking for music videos, if you're looking for things like that, you can follow me there.
Cool. And let's see. That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Randy, for taking the time for the interview, of course. And this was really awesome. This is the first interview I've done on this side of it. So that's super exciting. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing when this is released and everything like that. And be sure to also on Sundays stay up to date with the No Skip Show here on Music Roundtable Radio. And we have shows every week on midnight, 6 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. You can stay up to date with us there. But yeah, thank you so much.